Hi everybody, this is Stacy Davis. This is my Module 12 presentation. I am talking about government oversight. I'm specifically focusing on the case where the government sued Apple. This happened last year, and it was the FBI had the San Bernardino's terrorist cell phone. They had his iPhone, and what they needed was to be able to get into that iPhone without erasing all the content on it. What Apple does, the security of their iPhones, is if you use passcode or the Touch ID, if you don't have that specific access code, or if you try too many times to access the phone and you get it wrong, Apple erases that phone. It's automatically built into the system. The phone gets erased, all the content on it gets erased. This is to protect normal people. So the FBI was claiming that because it was a terrorist, they had the right to gain access to this cell phone. The problem is, as Apple said, that getting this code, getting this access to the phone, it would create a back door to all such devices. This was an iPhone 5C in this case. So everybody with an iPhone 5C, and really anyone with the iOS, would then be able to be exploited by other entities. The problem with this is, well, yes, this helps, for a terrorist, it makes sense. It's not necessarily unethical to get into a terrorist phone, but the result of that would be, it wouldn't be just a terrorist phone that would be accessed. It could be anybody's phone that could be accessed. And the problem with that is that information could get into the wrong hands. Once one person knows it, everybody can know it. They could be tempted. They could, be threatened. There's all kinds of reasons why they could be let go. Eventually, that information would be shared with the wrong people. And what ended up happening with this case, the result is the government actually dropped the case because they found an alternative method. So that brings us to the ethics of this case. So the easiest route, as in the FBI's case, is getting it from Apple, might not really be the right route. And this really shows how unethical it was because the government found another way. So basically, with just a little bit more time, the government was able to reach their goal without putting all of citizens in harm's way. So this proves how oversight can be unethical, at least in this case. So looking specifically at it, at the ethics of it, looking at protecting the greater good, that theory of ethics. There's the need to access the iPhone to immediately protect everyone from the terrorist attacks, but that would then leave all citizens exposed to privacy breaches there forward. Had there not been another way, then that might have been the right way. That might not have been unethical. But because the government found another way and then dropped the case, it proves that is unethical because there is another way that's not going to harm everyone. So the greater good is actually protected by not immediately accessing that phone. So finding another way to get the information that's needed without compromising the privacy of the public, this far outweighs the first approach because, there was another way to get the information. Looking at the honesty and the fairness approach for ethics, it would not have been fair, nor would it have been ethical fair or honest to all Americans to compromise their personal data on all of their personal devices. This directly violates the Constitution, and it gives the government control to not be fair and to not be honest in the future. While yes, in this case, they were only looking at one specific person and they needed it for that person. Once they have that information, and then they have a suspicion, but they don't have a warranted reason to check on somebody in the future, they might misuse what they already have and what they already know. And most of all, looking at the responsibility of this, it would not have been responsible to find a backdoor approach to all these iPhones because it would be an irresponsible use of everyone's security and everyone else's privacy for one person. And that person was already captured and all of that, and there was another way. Again, this case specifically rests on it because had there not been another way, then maybe the greater good would have been in danger. Maybe the public would have been in danger without that information. But the government finding another way proves that there's ways to do it, to get that information that's needed without compromising the fairness and the honesty and the protection of the privacy of the public. So looking at government oversight, is it ethical? What I've determined is it's really on a case-by-case basis. I don't think that you can come out and say a blanket statement that government oversight is either ethical or unethical. It really depends on the facts of the situation. If, these terrorists, if there were more of them and there was bombings every day and shootings and, there was warnings and things, I think that the way to look at it on a case-by-case basis is to look at the greater good. Protecting the public, which side, who, basically a scale. I think that's what ethics is in this case, and government oversight is look at it as a scale and how can we protect the most people in the most efficient way that's fair and honest and responsible. I think that all those things are needed to make it ethical. So that's how I feel about that. Here are some of my references, and I look forward to hearing about this.